In 1979, a compact Australian muscle car won the Bathurst 1000 by 6 laps. The driver was so relaxed during the final lap that he rested his arm casually on the windowsill. 8 of these cars claimed the first 8 finishing positions. The car was so dominant that it had to be banned. This is the story of the Holden Torana A9X, the Australian beast that destroyed everyone and then vanished forever. Australia in the 1970s was divided. Not by politics or religion, but by something far more passionate. Holden versus Ford. This rivalry defined Australian motorsport, split families down the middle, and turned weekend races into battles for national pride. By 1977, Ford was winning. Alan Moffat, a Canadian-Australian racing driver piloting a Ford Falcon, had just claimed both the Australian Touring Car Championship and the legendary Bathurst 1000. For Holden supporters, this was unacceptable. They needed a weapon. They needed the A9X. The Holden Torana A9X was not simply a faster version of an existing car. It was a comprehensive re-engineering project with one single purpose: win races. The car was built as what racing calls a homologation special. Under Group C touring car regulations, manufacturers had to produce a minimum number of road-legal cars equipped with all the racing components. This meant everyday Australians could walk into a Holden dealership and buy essentially the same machine that would compete at Mount Panorama. The A9X was available as either a 4-door sedan or a 2-door hatchback. The hatchback weighed just 1,242 kilograms, while the sedan came in at 1,308 kilograms. Under the hood sat a 5.0-litre V8 engine, producing between 236 to 249 horsepower in road trim. That might not sound impressive today, but the racing versions using the previously homologated L34 engine could unleash 350 to 382 horsepower. The 0 to 100 km per hour or 0 to 62 miles per hour sprint took 7.2 seconds, with the quarter mile disappearing in 15.4 seconds. But raw power was not what made the A9X special. The engineering details told the real story. The A9X became the first Holden production car ever fitted with 4-wheel disc brakes as standard equipment. While this seems unremarkable today, in 1977 Australia most performance cars still used rear drum brakes. At circuits like Mount Panorama, where cars reached high speeds before braking hard for tight corners, this advantage was massive. The A9X could brake later, harder, and more consistently than its rivals. The second critical component was the Salisbury differential. This heavy-duty 10-bolt rear axle could handle the torture of endurance racing without failure. Installing it required such extensive modifications that Holden had to cut and reshape the rear floor pan, relocate suspension mounting points, and redesign the rear control arms. Competitors frequently suffered differential failures during long races. The A9X's Salisbury unit was virtually bulletproof. It also featured Holden's radial-tuned suspension, specifically designed for the relatively new technology of radial tyres. The suspension geometry improved handling characteristics, reduced body roll in corners, and made the car more predictable at the limit. Combined with upgraded springs, shock absorbers, and stiffer anti-roll bars, the A9X handled like nothing else in Australian touring car racing. The distinctive fluted bonnet with its rear-facing induction scoop was not just for show. The scoop drew in cool, high-pressure air at speed, while the fluted design helped extract heat from the engine bay. A heavy-duty radiator, thermostatic electric cooling fan, and improved airflow management ensured the A9X could complete grueling endurance races in Australian heat without overheating, a common failure point that eliminated many competitors. Holden built the A9X in remarkably small numbers. Between August and December 1977, with one final unit in January 1978, just 405 road cars left the factory. Of these, 305 were 4-door sedans priced at $10,600, and only 100 were 2-door hatchbacks priced at $10,800. Additionally, 52 lightweight body shells were produced specifically for racing, with 41 being hatchbacks and 11 sedans. Total A9X production was approximately 457 units. This rarity was intentional, meeting homologation requirements while keeping the A9X exclusive. The A9X made its racing debut at the 1977 Sandown 500 before appearing at the Bathurst 1000. Peter Brock, already known as the King of the Mountain for his Bathurst mastery, put his A9X on pole position. Victory seemed certain, but the new car suffered teething troubles, and Ford struck back. Alan Moffat and Colin Bond delivered a devastating 1-2 finish for Ford. The A9X had lost its debut race. For Holden supporters, it was heartbreaking. For Ford fans, it was vindication. But that defeat would be the A9X's last. The 1978 season marked the A9X's transformation from promising newcomer to dominant champion. Peter Brock drove the A9X to victory in the 1978 Australian Touring Car Championship, proving the car's reliability and performance across a full season of competition. At the 1978 Bathurst 1000, Brock and co-driver Jim Richards secured the A9X's first victory at Mount Panorama. The car also won the Sandown 500. The A9X had arrived, and rivals were in trouble. Then came 1979, a season so dominant that it remains legendary 4 decades later. Bob Morris piloted an A9X to victory in the 1979 Australian Touring Car Championship, giving the car back-to-back championship titles. The A9X won the Sandown 500 for the 3rd consecutive year, but nothing compared to what happened at Bathurst on September 30th, 1979. The hardy Faraday 1000 at Mount Panorama is Australia's greatest motor race. The circuit is 6.2 kilometres or 3.9 miles of public road that winds up and down a mountain, featuring dramatic elevation changes, blind corners, and high-speed sections where cars exceed 280 kilometres per hour or 174 miles per hour. It is brutally demanding on cars and drivers. Races are won and lost by seconds, sometimes hundredths of seconds. Peter Brock and Jim Richards, driving Holden dealer Team A9X hatchback number 05, started from pole position. They led lap 1, then lap 2, then lap 3. They led every single lap of the race, all 163 laps. For over 6 hours, no other car challenged them. They crossed the finish line not seconds ahead of second place, not minutes ahead, but 6 entire laps ahead. In a sport where races are usually decided by slim margins, this was complete annihilation. But the dominance did not stop there. The second place car was an A9X, so was third place, and 4th, and 5th. The A9X claimed the first 8 finishing positions at Australia's greatest motor race. It was not a competition, it was a demonstration. On the final lap, with victory assured and the lap record within reach, Brock pushed hard through the mountain section. He shattered the touring car lap record with a time of 2 minutes 21.1 seconds. Then for the run down Conrod straight to the finish line, he casually rested his arm on the windowsill. The image became iconic. Brock was so far ahead, so completely in control, that he could drive one-handed. The A9X had not just won, it had destroyed everyone. The margin of victory stands as a Bathurst record to this day. No car before or since has won by 6 laps at Mount Panorama. Television audiences declined because races became predictable. Ford could not compete. Other manufacturers could not develop alternatives fast enough. The sport risked becoming a Holden benefit rather than genuine competition. Something had to change. In an unprecedented move, Holden made a shocking announcement. At the end of 1979, the company would withdraw factory support from the Holden dealer team. Holden recognised that A9X was too good for its own good and the overall health of the sport. The car had become so dominant that allowing it to continue threatened the competitive balance that made racing exciting. The A9X was effectively banned when touring car regulations were restructured for 1980. After just 3 seasons, the A9X's racing career was over. But what a career it was. 2 Australian Touring Car Championships, 2 Bathurst 1000 victories, 3 Sandown 500 wins, and a level of dominance that forced rule changes. So why is the A9X lost? The Holden brand, established in 1856 and producing vehicles since 1948, was discontinued by General Motors in 2020. The final Holden rolled off Australian production lines in 2017, ending domestic car manufacturing entirely. The industrial capability that created the A9X no longer exists in Australia. The engineers who designed it have retired. The factory in Dandenong, where it was built, has closed. The Holden dealer team that raced it has long since disbanded. Peter Brock, the King of the Mountain, who drove the A9X to glory, passed away in 2006. The Group C touring car era that produced the A9X ended in 1979, replaced by different regulations and different cars. That specific moment in Australian motorsport when compact V8 muscle cars battled on mountain circuits will never return. Modern supercars racing is exciting, but it represents a different philosophy and approach. Of the 100 hatchbacks produced, only an estimated 50 to 60 have survived to present day. Many were crashed, modified beyond recognition, or succumbed to rust. The surviving examples have become Australia's most valuable muscle cars. Original A9X models that cost $10,600 in 1977 now sell for $275,000 to over $800,000 depending on condition and history. As one automotive journalist noted, this is the holy grail of Holden collector cars in the country, and since the closure of Holden they have only become more popular. The A9X represents something Australia will never recreate. A locally developed muscle car that dominated international competition. It proved Australian engineering could compete with and defeat the best. It embodied national pride during a formative period in Australia's identity. For a generation of Australians, the A9X was the car on bedroom walls, the subject of heated discussions and the symbol of what Australian manufacturing could achieve at its peak. Could Australia ever again produce a locally developed performance car that destroys international competition? With manufacturing gone and Holden defunct, the answer is no. That makes the A9X's achievements precious and irreplaceable. The Holden Torana A9X was a car so successful it had to be banned, so dominant that it won by margins that will never be matched, so significant that it changed the rules of an entire sport, and so thoroughly Australian that its loss represents the end of an era. In just 405 road cars and 52 racing shells, Holden created a legend that destroyed everyone who challenged it, then vanished into history as the lost Australian V8 beast that could never be replaced.